Dan Quinn, Assistant Professor of Agronomy and Extension Corn Specialist at Purdue University. So drought really impacts corn basically from water use, right? So corn uses different levels of water at different growth stages. One of the biggest telltale signs of drought conditions in corn is really the rolling of the leaves. So if you look out into a field and you see a lot of corn that is starting to roll, that is just that corn is kind of a defense mechanism. That corn is doing everything it can to try and preserve water from that plant. So it really impacts the plant from overall growth of that plant. And then as we begin to progress throughout the season, right, if we get into more of those reproductive stages where we're starting to, produce grain and get into where we're determining grain yield at that point in time, that's going to impact corn a lot more. So the bigger the corn gets, the more water it's going to start to take up. So if we are limited to water, and as we progress to the middle of the season, it's going to impact corn more and more from a grain yield standpoint. So it's important. Drought is so important because it's going to impact corn, how much grain it's going to produce, how much biomass, plant matter it's going to produce. So any levels of drought throughout the season could potentially be pretty detrimental to the corn crop around the state. In terms of responding to drought conditions, there's some farmers that do have irrigation, right? So the farmers that are fortunate enough and that do have the investment in irrigation, they can use irrigation to kind of combat some of these drought conditions. Outside of that, a lot of farmers, it's just paying attention to where the drought conditions are, what stage that crop is at that point in time to try and get an estimate of how much that crop is impacting it. There isn't really much they can do when the drought conditions really set in, especially if they don't have irrigation, right? And a lot of the farmers kind of do business as usual with some of their applications. They may change when they put out certain fertilizer or certain chemicals and so on to try and catch some of those rains. Really the goal of our research and the goal of our extension too is to help understand, one, what the questions are, what are the challenges, what are the issues that farmers are seeing with their drought conditions, and how can we build or design trials and research to address those questions and challenges that those farmers have, and use both our research and extension to be able to try and help farmers address those drought conditions and also trying to understand them and do the best they can when those conditions come in.